Franklin, you are currently the strategist and founder of Think Africa. Like I said, I spent some time researching the two of you on the stool right now.
Yes, you did.
What's the backstory? Tell us something we won't see on Google. I mean, something we won't see online. What's the backstory?
I think the first thing that came to my mind when I set up was...
Can you help me up his mic some bit?
It was a platform that was made to make you rethink whatever you think you've thought before. That's the idea of think, and it's a play on word. Rethink whatever you thought you've thought before. So, removing the H, I had Think Africa, but it went more than that. It was now about developing insights and leading up the way to innovation. So, when you come on to think, it makes you rethink what you think you know. And then the thing you ask is, what's next? So Think was that platform that told you what's next.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. Guys, help me now. Mr. Lampe, in 2008, you were the recipient of the Marketing Society of Kenya Warriors Award. Whatever that meant. Okay, I was looking for what exactly it meant. Okay, and you won the award for significant contributions to the development of marketing in Kenya. Why Kenya? What's the backstory? What was happening in Kenya?
Okay, the backstory is that I lived and worked in Kenya for 4 years.
Okay.
And then I was marketing director for Cadbury East and Central Africa, and Nairobi was the hub. So that's the story. The Marketing Society of Kenya's Warrior Award was given to individuals that were considered to be warriors in the battle in the market field and making a difference. So in my role as marketing director in Cadbury, we had a number of initiatives that changed the paradigms in the marketplace, and as well as also being a part of some changes in the marketing terrain in Kenya was what resulted in being given the award of a warrior.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for him. There's really something about Lampe's voice that commands attention, right? Okay, Franklin, you're going to help me out with some projection, okay? You were head brand management and marketing at Inside Communication.
Yes.
Why did you leave? I mean, why would anyone leave at all? What happened?
I don't think you say something happened. I left before something happened.
Okay.
I think when I was studying trends, because that's what I do, I study trends, I felt the industry was evolving very fast. And the way we were approaching advertising and marketing was a little bit getting out of touch in terms of the kind of business models we were doing. So I deliberately took a 2-year time out to travel abroad, New York, London, South Africa, to see what agents were doing, how they were setting up. And if we wanted to set up Insight as at 2014, how would we go about it? So I went on my own, it was my own pilgrimage. And when I came back, I decided to set up Think. And I felt it was the right thing to do at that time. Yes.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for him.
Thank you.
Round of applause now, my people. Okay, so Lampe, you graduated BSc Biochemistry from Unilag. You had MSc Biochemistry. At what point did biochemistry and marketing intersect? What's the connection? You know?
Okay. When they connect? Well, they connected in various ways as I went into marketing, but there's a long story of how I got into marketing. But the short version is, while I was studying biochemistry, I truly realized I shouldn't have even started biochemistry. That was the first thing. And there's a story you will not see on Google, so let me share it. Is that before I even got my first degree in biochemistry, I spent 3 years in medical school. So wow. I actually studied medicine, 1 year pre-med and 2 years in medical school, and then dropped out of medical school. Wanted to study English, but it would have required me doing JAMB again. And I was happy to do that, but my mom said she would disown me. So, so I took the easy way out, get a degree, just get a degree. But I got a degree after first year in biochemistry, after spending 3 years in university. I thought, look, let me prove that I still have the gray matter. So I did well, graduated best of the class in biochemistry.
Wow.
Graduated best in class in masters. Started a PhD for 1 week, and then I said. Then after 1 week of doing PhD, because all my lecturers said you're brilliant, I then remembered, this is not your path. I then stopped the PhD and I started to look for jobs with prayers in advertising. So my dream job was actually to be a copywriter, because I write. I used to write a lot. And so I started tamaking, as Kenyans would call it. I started tamaking the roads of Lagos. Pre-computer days, writing application letters, applying for copywriters to the top agencies at the time in 1989. And my first paragraph would say, I know that my degrees in science will suggest that you will not consider me, but just call me for an interview and let's have conversations. None of the agencies at that time was bold enough to take a risk on a science graduate. So I kept on praying, and by fortune got into management trainee schemes, and that was what I was really applying for. But I was really looking for jobs in the creative sector. And so got to the final stage in Cadbury after 1,000 of us did a test and interviews. The last stage of 17, I was waiting at the reception. The head of HR came and said, let me just tell you guys, by the way, every one of you here is being considered for sales and marketing jobs. And apparently my face showed something. He misread it. And he called me out of the 17 and said, yes, Omoyele, you probably think that with your degrees in marketing, in biochemistry, that we will consider you for the factory or technical, but that we've looked at you all through the test and the aptitudes and the interviews, and we think you do well in marketing. Now, he had misread my look, because it was my heart leaping up, saying, hallelujah, finally, someone gets it, all right? And he left, and I looked around to my other candidates. What is marketing? But anyway, that's how I got into marketing. And because I knew zilch about it, I put all my heart and my spirit into learning all that I could. So that's how I went into marketing. But the convergence between biochemistry and marketing is that I worked for many years in the food industry. And my learnings in biochemistry were useful in certain things. One example quickly was we wanted Bonvita. I wanted Bonvita to be the first brand in the food drink sector to have vitamin C. No other brand had it. For me, it was going to be about competitive advantage. So I said to my technical colleagues, can we get vitamin C into Bonvita? And they said it was not possible because of the high temperatures involved in making beverages. You know, if you're familiar with that, the old way of making Bonvita or Milo was ovens, high temperature. And said it was not possible. And so for months we were debating and said it was not possible. These were PhD guys. So one day I was at home and just reflecting, and my mind process said, look, vitamin C is ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid can appear as ascorbate in salt form. If it can appear in salt form, why can't it withstand high temperatures? It should be heat labile. So I went in the following day to my scientists and said, I took them through their process, my thought process, and they looked at me like I got Bonvita with vitamin C.
Wow.
But so that's the concept.
Okay, no, still with you, I'm going to ask another question. And I think you just led me into it, okay? I realized Monday, 23rd March 1992 was a biggie for you.
Monday,
23rd March 1992. That was the day you were announced as Bonvita brand manager.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So run us through the doubts in your mind, the fear, the thrill, the wonder, all of the things running through your mind. 1992, how many years now? Maybe 27.
Okay. So the key context there is I joined Cadbury in July 1990. Now, understand what I just said, I was a management trainee. No background in marketing, nothing at all. And in less than 2 years, I was being asked to manage the flagship brand of Cadbury which was at the time a humongous brand in this country. Bonvita, as of those years, brand-wise, equity-wise, was seen as probably bigger than Coca-Cola. And here you were, a young man being asked to manage that with only about 1.5 years of marketing of experience. That was massive. Now, the fears, apart from those fears, there was also internal issues. How could this fresher be given this huge responsibility? So there were people in the organization who did not think I should have been given the role. So there were doubts. When it was announced, even the person I was going to be reporting to passed by my desk because I didn't know. She said in Yoruba, "Hey, there's someone. You didn't tell us," meaning you knew and you didn't tell us. So I was being set up big time. I was getting phone calls from senior managers saying, "You know you're in trouble now." So obviously, those were the fears. And literally that evening, Monday evening, I went home, I knelt down and said, "Father, if you can take over this cup from me, I'll be happy." Because I truly did not really want it. But took it on.
Here you are today.
Yes.
A round of applause for him, guys. Franklin's got a blog, okay? You know, think about this. The title of his blog is Inside the Mind of a Madman, you know? And it was exciting, you know, stumbling on that. Let us into your thinking. Why you called your blog that, and what essentially goes on in your mind when you want to drop your post. You know, just expose that mind to us.
Okay. Inside the Mind of a Madman. Okay, it's a play there. It's actually, the man is M/AD. So it's inside the man of an ad man or inside the man of a ad man. So you could call ad men mad. Again, it's a popular slang in the US where we have the Madison Avenue where the advertising industry was set up. So that was a play on words. Inside the mind of an ad man, inside the mind of a madman. It had a byline called the rants and ravings, the thoughts, rants and ravings of an ad man. We didn't really have any inspirational blog, newspaper, magazine, or anything where anyone could go for reading up on marketing or inspiration as at then. And I felt beyond just talking pure education, marketing gimmicks, the ins and outs of marketing, what about the things that go on behind great copywriting? What are the things people felt, strategists, planners, creative doers, behind the good work, behind the copy lines, behind the billboards? There were a lot of things we don't share. We only see the awards. So that was me sharing what I was going through then with colleagues, how we were working together, how we were playing together, what was inspiring us, if we were going out to clubs, if we had to go to the market to see something. So it was everything you would not see in a novel or in a marketing book. It was everything you wouldn't see someone telling you if you wanted to learn the 1, 2, 3s of marketing. So those were the things we were sharing then, the fonts, the rantings, the stress, and bylines, and I was sharing those stuff on a regular basis. Sometimes we had guest appearances or guest writings from friends and colleagues. What was also interesting, because it became very popular then, we had colleagues who were also writing for me then, and it got my first intro into a marketing journal then called M2. I think founded by Akin Adeoya, yes. So he liked some of those writings, and that's how I got featured on M2 magazine. Some of you don't know M2 magazine. It was one of the first premier marketing journals in Nigeria. Very, very solid, great case studies. When anything come out, you see great contributions by fellow writers, and then afterwards I also started writing for Brand Faces. So that was the beginning. Those writing from the blog to the magazines to the stuff. Yes.
Staying with Franklin, just have another question for you.
Yes. Please.
Orange Academy, Dean of Studies.
Yes.
Talk us through that. Okay.
Yeah, people always ask about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
In 2007, a young man called Kehinde Badmus. I barely knew him then. Again, because of the writings, I was on M2, sent me an email and that he had an idea and he wanted me to share with me. So I've been hearing of him. He was working at Center Spread then, I think as a group head. And we met at Mr. Big's, Maryland. So we went there, and on a sketch, he had a tissue paper. He showed me his idea about Orange Academy. That was early 2007. And we shared ideas, and I gave him my perspectives, and he said, I definitely have to come on board. So we set up the curriculum, developed a prospectus, and he was very, very hands-on in terms of how he wanted. I even developed a mini magazine journal to drive this thing, and then talk to marketing heads like Lampe and co, who also supported that dream. And that's how Orange Academy started, with people like Chisom and those who are the pioneer heads of faculty in 2007. And that's how the brand was birthed. So from 2007, I've been supporting my own little way that organization. In 2011, I was called by the board of members and I was made the Dean of Studies. Wow. So then I was responsible for developing the curriculum every year, ensuring that the standards, the quality, the teachings, the faculty team, everything was on board a certain thing. And that's how we've been growing the brand until then.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for both of them, please. So we have 2 standard questions for both of them. I'm going to be asking the same questions both of them were attempted. And it's 2 questions about the profession. I mean, the first one is, for marketing, help us prepare. What is coming? What is that you see that is coming? What else have we not seen now? And anybody can start. I'm going to ask another question that both of you are going to attempt. But the first one is for our craft, marketing. What is coming? What do you see? Look into the future, envision what 5 year looks like. 10 year ahead. What is coming? What do you see? What are we not thinking about? Try. I can give you, I can give you both the mics,
Okay. Yeah. So what I see is, if for those that have understood the history of marketing, I think when you're into this space, you become so subsumed into your industry. I think the question is what's happening outside. I think that's the question. And every time when we, in marketing advertising, what we do, we always share perspective on trends and ideas and solutions before we tell the client this is the best way, because we always tell them this is what's happening out there. I think if you look at the way the world is going, we're becoming much more integrated. I call it the one world, where everything is about oneness. It's about sameness. It's a very commodified world. Whatever is happening in FMCG today can affect aerodynamics, research, and advertising. Before it wasn't the same. If you're the brand manager, Bonvita, you better be prepared to watch out in not just the drink sector, but also what's happening in the entire food chain, because it's not about share of pockets and share of wallets and share of mind. And the best way now to understudy consumers, if we still want to use that terminology, is to see what's fascinating them and what's trending them. So if I wanted to, I wouldn't call it a prediction, what's happening, and if you follow that path into where it's going, I think we need to understand very well what integration now means in today's world. And if you look at it from politics, from economy, from industries, and from the businesses we're working on. For example, look at what's happening with, let's even use entertainment as a whole. Spotify's and the Apples, the Googles and the Facebook. Who is competing against who now? You never can really tell. Is Google competing against Uber? Is Spotify competing against Insight? It's Insight competing. It's bloodlines. The most important thing right now is, what do you want as a consumer and how can I satisfy you? When you use the term, I am a technology company, 2 years down the line, you said, oh, you feel too safe because you've probably bought an advertising agency, and then your scope of this thing goes. And the next thing, okay, I am in the transportation business. 1 year down the line, based on consumer needs and what you're doing, you're like, I think I'm now in the mobility business. And on and on and on. Samsung, would anyone really describe what business is Samsung in? Are they in the mobile phones business? Are they in the mobility business? Or are they in the user experience business? When you put those tags, you restrict yourself. So the thing is, I think we should not even put those boxes. What will marketing become? I think the most important thing is, how will humans evolve? And as humans evolve, what is the best way to connect with humankind? I think if I wanted to set up an agency today, I will set up a humankind agency. For as long as you are a person, because our services and wants are connected to people, then I can always evolve with you. I will set up a consumer agency. As long as you want things, I can connect brands with you. I will set up an experience company. As long as you always want experiences, I'll connect with you. So I think the best question or the way to resolve this is, first of all, before setting up or developing or putting the business we are in a box or a portmanteau or whatever you call it, a briefcase or the brief faculty, is how will mankind evolve? How will the consumer evolve? Today is not so much about even wants anymore and needs. It's about what will be. A few years ago, we didn't know Instagram would blow up as much as it would before Facebook bought it. What Instagram has done in 3-4 years is turn everyone into a celebrity. Everyone can be a celebrity. 5 years ago, everyone was talking about the blogging sphere, bloggers, everything blogging. How many people have gone to any blogger's website in the past 1 year? Brands were trying to advertise on their blogs, right? Have you gone to any of the blogs? Because they were smart. A few years ago, blogs were going down. Then they jumped into Instagram. It's now about snackable news. Instagram will also have its own wave. Then there will be something else. So those nomenclatures are not working anymore. But the most important thing is we always want experiences. We always want what's new. That is key. And as long as we're on that wave, we'll always win.
So what I'll do is, just as Lampe is attempting, I'll come in to be able to take 1 or 2 questions before I shoot them with my other questions. So you have the mic.
Yeah, great. I think Franklin has done a great job in terms of responding to that. And I always say Franklin is the trends master, so no doubt, right? But so let me just build on what he has said and probably reinforce something I also heard yesterday when we had someone come talk to us about customer. And let me preface that. So we had given someone a topic about customer service, and the person challenged us, and rightly so, that you really can't talk about customer service, which is almost like unidirectional. And really, you should be talking about customer experience, because ultimately it's about experience. So customer service is what you do. Customer experience is the outcome, and that's really important for us from a marketing perspective. So let's talk about 3 E's and just building on what Franklin has said. So I think that we are in the era, and we are continuing to the era of 3 E's. One, you're talking about empathy, which links to emotions and ultimately to experience. So as marketing practitioners, whether it's advertising, Malcolm's, the brand management side of client, ultimately it's about are you able to walk in the consumer's shoes? And this is not really new. I mean, there's an old Spanish saying that any bullfighter who wants to succeed needs to put himself in the place of a bull. That's how you will succeed. So if you're going to succeed as marketers, we need to put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer, right? And in fact, anticipate. Put ourselves in the shoes. Put yourself in the shoes. Right? What about advertising? What about strategy, products you're developing? Put yourself in the shoes. So empathy is going to be important. And then, of course, as you walk in their shoes, you'll be able to get that emotional connect. If I asked us why the Airtel ads, why are they resonating today? Yeah, we all talk about the functionality about storytelling. Yes, that's really what you do. But ultimately, it's the outcome. Those ads, most of them are relatable. And that's important. And we can see ourselves in some of those ads, and therefore we're having an experience. So ultimately, using GT as an example, I opened the newspapers today. They're having a food and fashion fair also, and food and drinks event. What are they doing? They are creating experiences. And if you attend those events, it's a massive crowd. So ultimately, where we're evolving and trending to is, we're already there, it's empathy, it's creating the right emotions and creating an experience. All the issues around technology, one of the things I'm just going to highlight as I close on this, is we talk a lot about tech, and that's great. But we should understand that tech is a means and not an end in itself to creating those experiences that will help us connect to consumers.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. I have 1 or 2 questions here.
I'd like to ask a very important question. Outside of here, consulting companies are buying up ad agencies.
Yes.
Consulting is basically taking over advertising, out of Nigeria. It's not here yet, but you know how things go. We are eventually going to get there if it has started out there. How do we stop this? How do we mitigate this before it gets here?
Yeah, it's almost like a big whirlwind going across the country. But you need to understand, why are they doing this? They're missing an ingredient. How we come about creativity. That is an anomaly they can't understand. And that's why they're buying brands anomaly. So that means we have something going for us. So what is it going for them? And that's what we need to milk, understand. The thing going for them is they understand the business of marketing. We need to understand, are we in the creativity business? Are we in the business of creativity?
Oh.
There are two things.
Okay.
If you take one, I can give a formula on how to develop your agency. If you take the other one, I can give a formula on how to earn money on that. There are two big things. If you are in the business of creativity, then you need to understand and dimension the industry in which you work on. That's where the Accentures, the PwCs, and the Deloittes are taking us for cleaners. We are so warped up in the communication arm. At the end of the day, the client wants solution. That's why I talk about integration. If you are so much into your specialty, if you look at the digital business and ecosystem, they're shrinking. Digital business in Nigeria is shrinking. PR is shrinking. Yeah. Why? Because you cannot be in your WAP. You need to understand the value chain, where the issues are coming from. You need to understand the business, the marketing, the consumer, the communications, the experience, and evaluation. So you can't just be in communications, even if that's what they want. You need to tell them the left, what's happening at the center, and where. You need to understand hindsight, insight, and foresight. And if you can't understand it, and all you're talking about is insights and foresight, then they'll feel you don't understand their business. So you need to understand the business, where they're coming from. You need to understand marketing matrix. You need to understand how to do ROI. You need to understand communication, which you're a specialist in. And you don't have to do all this alone. We're in a world of co-creation. You don't have to take everything alone. Work with people, collaborate. That's why the startup and tech system are blowing up. One guy sits in a garage, he works with 4 people, the scientist, the ad man, and it's not because they have the formula. They work and they develop and co-create results. If they fail fast, they move on. We want to stay in our box and save boss. Give me this thing, I'll collect a percentage, give that guy. You can't grow. There's only so much. And the client is smarter than they understand that matrix. So why don't I go meet the guy who can tell me the business? That's where we need to be. And if we do that, we'll always win. Thanks.
A round of applause for him. The final question from me is, help us adapt. What is going? What is in our practice we'll stop doing in the next couple of years? What do we currently do that we should move away from?
I think if we want to stop, I think we should stop having an agent mentality. I think that's one of the key things that is killing us. Perhaps the term agency is affecting us psychologically, physically, and everything. That agency mindset, it is. Secondly, the model we're using to now, that's something I spoke about severally, has been something we're using for almost 50 years, since when advertising birthed in Nigeria. That is same business model we're using to market, communicate, develop propositions, and develop creativity. While the consumers, the businesses, and people we're talking to have evolved. So I said, how would you use the same agency model, which is client service, account management, brands, creative, that was developed in the 1960s? How would you work on a brief for an Uber today? How do you want to approach that issue? Because naturally, you would go into the fail-safe mode, which will be the brief. If Uber says, we have a problem, we want to be the biggest mobility brand in Nigeria, what's the first thing you would do? Would you say, give me a brief? How would you approach it? You enter your agency mode immediately. And perhaps that is not the best way to approach it. So I think the quickest thing I can say about that is, let's avoid that agency nomenclature. Secondly, let us evolve our model to sit the way the whole business of consumerism experiences is going. And I think I'm still here to find that agency that is developed again, which is why sometimes you need to walk away from what you're doing and look at it. If you wanted to set up an agency or a marketing company today, how would you go about it if you'd had no frills, no locks, and things?
Specialization or integration?
Integration.
Integration.
Yes.
Thank you. Round of applause for him, please.
Thanks, Raki. Okay, so I'm in a bit of a dilemma because I have a 30-year career. 25 or 26 has been on the client side. So, a newbie, if you will, on this side. I mean, people have asked me why I moved to this side. I always say I didn't move to this side. I only moved to a separate side of the ecosystem. And I think that agencies, in quotes, need to begin to understand that you're part of the marketing ecosystem, right? Now, so to also build on that and answer Agbon's question, one of the things that we've done where I work is, since I joined, I stopped calling ourselves an agency. If you look at our profile, we don't have the word agency, and I try to outlaw that word agency. We are a brand management and Malcolm's company, if you will, right? And it takes a doing to ensure that the issue of consulting, and interestingly, life is full of ironies. Before I knew I was going to come to this side, AAAN had invited me to come and speak to leadership. And I spoke about what Agbon is raising as an issue. I didn't know that I would simply have to come and try and practice what I was preaching. But key thing is, we need, on the agency side, we need to stop looking at ourselves as agency. You are a partner in that ecosystem. And a partner means that you don't just wait for briefs to come. You must be strategic in thinking and be proactive. And stand up for what you believe in. Now, I have to be careful as I say what I want to say, but we have declined to pitch for an existing client who wanted us to pitch year on year. We declined and we walked away, so to speak. Now, and I say that gently, right? But the point is, a lot of companies will not speak to PwC, Accenture, the way that they speak to those on the agency side. And we need to get to a point where you earn the respect. You earn the respect, but it's about being strategic and being proactive. And where, again, I'm being careful, and where there is acute disrespect, call it out. Your guts might not be, you might lose on the short run, but you stand for something. And the other thing about what we need to stop doing, and I know it's an endemic issue, on the chat this overnight and this morning, we skirted around it. I think we should be bold to say no when demands are made to influence business and where it is going to be corruptive. Let's say it as it is. You have to stand for something. The issue of corruption in the industry is massive, and it can only go away if some people stand for it. I call it out for myself. I stand against the corruption in the industry. If it means losing some opportunities, perhaps so be it. But there are people who will respect you over time for it, and you can still survive without being corrupt. That's something we have to seek to stop. Tough in the country, but it's something we need to call out.